Catherine Coley, the CEO of Binance US, is my guest on Diva on the Blog today. She's a 30-year-old cool girl from Florida who's now conquering the crypto world and is probably one of my most favorite guests on the show so far. I know, I've had the opportunity to interview some of the coolest, weirdest, and sometimes most controversial people in blockchain, from the dickening John McAfee to Cardano's Charles Hoskinson to the Bachelor in Paradise star Chris Bukowski, among so many others. But my interview with Catherine Coley was the one that I personally had the most fun at and identified with. Even though Catherine and I came from completely different backgrounds, we ended up having a ton in common. We both started our finance career in the foreign exchange or forex market. We both lived in Asia and experienced diverse cultures. We felt similar pains with the barriers, with financial burdens, and being the only girl in the room. And we both see crypto as an equalizer that could bring more opportunities to all people around the world. We're also both on a mission to help women take control of their finances and grow their wealth, just like, if not better, than their male counterparts. So in this episode of Diva on the Blog, Catherine shares her vision for Binance US and how she's looking to include everyone, even you. Yes, you, in the groundbreaking crypto and blockchain worlds. My name is Kiana Danial. I'm the founder of the Invest Diva movement. And with Diva on the Block, we take you to the back streets of this whole blockchain, Bitcoin, and crypto shenanigans to help you get a better understanding of what really is going on and how you can take advantage of it. I publish new content every single day. So make sure you click on that subscribe button and turn the bell notification on so you don't get left behind on the Invest Diva movement. Also, don't forget to comment, like, and share this with your friends. Both Catherine and I would love to hear from you in the comment section. Make sure to stay until the end of the video for silly faces and behind the scenes. So with that, let's go say hi to Catherine and let's rock the blog. The CEO of Binance US. It made a bang when it went live about 2 months ago, and now she is just crushing it, and she has such a huge vision for where Binance US is going to go. But today, I'm not going to start with Binance US, which is cool. We're going to get there. I also really want to get into who Catherine is. Like, some of you might not know, she's only 30 years old, which makes me feel old. And I'm like, oh, I'm 35, FYI. And and my booking agent was my assistant was asking me, ask her what is her secret of getting to where she is when she's 30. I was reading about Lee. I'm like, she's pretty tall. Is that the reason why?
Oh, I got me where I am. No, I wish. I did the math yesterday of figuring out I've been about 9 years in a 24-hour industry. So if I do the calculations to pair that with someone that's been in a 9-to-5 job, I should have about 31 years of experience.
No, so you actually started in Forex, which is, again, I mean, it doesn't have the weekends, but it is a 24/5.
24/5. So I've only dialed it up since then.
Right. So the funny thing is, I actually didn't know about you, didn't know that about you, but I also started in Forex. That was my first ever trade that got me to this whole world. So now you switch to crypto, and I'm like, oh, it's like the same path. I'm not just crypto, just a disclaimer over here, but it was like,
Me neither.
you're not. Okay, so tell us how this whole thing happened. Where did you get started? Actually, no, you know what? Way back up. Where were you born? And tell us a little background so that we know who is this girl who's now running Binance US.
I've brought it up before, but it cracks me up. I grew up outside of Orlando, Florida, and spent a lot of time going to Epcot, which is the park inside of Disney World where you get to travel around the world, which is, situated around a lake. And I really experienced a diverse amount of cultures growing up and assumed that that's the life I wanted to live.
That's the world. That is the world right there.
It's easy to go between Canada and Japan in 15 seconds of walking, or
Using the same currency the whole time.
currency the whole time.
No exchanges.
It was, it was a brutal wake up call when I first moved abroad to study, and said, oh, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. And so I kept challenging myself in new environments, really focusing on learning things on the ground. So I went and studied at Copenhagen Business School to learn a little bit about like the European integration that was occurring at that time, and then Hong Kong to learn a little bit more about how Asia companies were marketing and beginning to kind of address an East versus West in terms of their clients. And then National University of Singapore to learn more about the political climates of the Asian financial crisis. And kind of every time I'm in a new environment and able to absorb their culture, understand, what makes them tick, it fascinates me. So
what was the brutal thing that you actually faced? What was the awakening? What was the toughest part of being outside of the US the first time?
It's the financial burden that you bear for having the opportunity to expand your horizons. So by choosing to live outside of my own country, I was taking on financial hits, whether that was my balance sheet being in a foreign denominated currency, whether that was just the cost of having to come back and forth to go home for see people and things, or whether that was the ability for me not to have access to U.S. instruments. Working internationally, you're not opening up a 401k. You're opening up a pension in that country, and then you can't access that until you're 65 years old. So there's different aspects of that experience where you're actually in a lesser position by advancing your reach.
So what you're saying is like, you might have noticed my energy level went down because you're hitting home with me. I was born and raised in Iran. Then I went to Japan. I lived in Japan for 7 years. And then, so this is crazy. This is a different kind of story, but the financial and the barriers that we have in this world is that, so my family were all in the US, my grandmother, my sister, brother, mom, dad, but they wouldn't let me, the little girl, to come to the US. The US wouldn't give me a visa. And then when I finally, it's just, and that is the reason why I got into foreign exchange, because when I was in Japan, the 2008 market crash happened. I was like, the only thing I understood about finance was like, oh, US dollar is getting cheaper. Maybe now is the time to buy US dollar. And I actually made my first ever money trading, writing down the dollar yen. I made $10,000. Like, oh, this is so cool. So I mean, it does go both ways. Like sometimes you actually can make money, but more often than not, it is a burden. Like I could not see my family. Every time they wanted to come to see me, there was so many things I had to consider.
Cross-border transaction fees, the cost of you not being able to participate in different instruments because you're geographically based somewhere. It all, I think the biggest and broader point of this is we weren't alone. This happened to me, this happened to you, this happens to everyone. Why are we solving this?
Well, I feel like because the governments can make money off of it. So for example, my husband is now Australian, right? So every time we go to Australia, we have to get a visa. Nobody needs that visa, but that visa, we have to pay an amount to get it. And it really doesn't, like, we're American, like now I'm an American. There's like, they know that we're safe, but they still charge you that cha-ching fee. And so we're now actually, because of the transaction, like the volatility between the currencies, but sometimes I try to predict the market where the US dollar, where the Australian dollar is going to become stronger, so that is the time like we travel so that we make the most out of our buck.
Exactly. And it's the anecdotal evidence that you have, or those kind of awareness of how idiosyncratic, and sorry, that's a big word, but just saying how different or special each region is.
What was that word that you used?
Idiosyncratic.
All right, English is my third language, so I'm like, can you please explain what that means?
That means like particular. So the fact that Japan markets are different from Korea markets, are different from Singapore, Malaysia, Pakistan, India, you name it. Each market has its own local etiquette, trading hours, behavioral phenomenon, seasonality, nuances, terms. That is just fascinating to me. And it is those have, it just makes so many hurdles for people to get familiar with this unless you dive in, learn it, dig it all up, and really kind of study how it works in
It
each
is
area.
absolutely true. So I feel like if you want to do business with Japan, that is the main experience that I have. If you don't understand the language and the culture, you're not going to get anywhere. You
Outside.
are not going to get anywhere. And their appreciation of money, the way they talk about money is different than the way they're less direct, if you will. They kind of find talking about money a taboo. So, and Americans, we still have that kind of nuance over here as well. But we're here, there, like, it feels like you have to really not, it's not just a job of a translator. You have to get a culturator. Like, there is a cultural
Culturator, yeah. So I'd say I became a culturator in my earliest days of wanting to be able to translate different experiences, different cultures to people so that they could better understand it, they could better invest on it, they could really be more fluid in how we see the world.
So
Uh,
what got you? So I kind of feel I understand why you got into foreign exchange, the forex market, because that is like literally the most international financial theme. But
until crypto.
until crypto. But I mean, first of all, uh, why finance? Why did you choose finance?
Oh yeah, probably comes down to a really simple fact. I knew my life was going to be an expensive one. I really like to study my brain. I really like to have a state of mental stability, and that's expensive. It's a premium in life to be able to pay for a therapist. So I knew I'd have to have a job that would pay for that down the road. I also knew how important education was to me, and so I wanted to prepare for future families that I would be able to have, for them to have the best education.
But you did used to actually, our producer dug up some of your early articles you wrote when you were in college. Did you ever
Oh no.
think of, actually, it wasn't, did you ever think of becoming a journalist?
Well, that was the whole point of current events led me to
Oh, the
find.
Daily Tar Heel. That's where
Yeah,
you wrote articles for.
I started out as I did the cop blotter in college. So that was your first job at the college newspaper. You had to go and write up all the police reports and then write about the flavor of the local town. And then in that job, I realized that the ad team was getting paid to do their job and I was not getting paid. And I said, well, I'd like to get paid for my work that I'm doing. So I went and sold advertisements at the Daily Tar Heel, and so that was my side job, and in that I learned probably more than I did in classrooms.
Good for you for standing
And
up for yourself and asking for money. Good
right,
for you.
well, not only money, it was a compensation around bringing
Right.
small businesses into college students and raising awareness for them. So that idea of this job gave me connections and autonomy, and then with that money, I could do things that I always wanted to do. And so that really freed up my kind of cycle of, I don't have to live in the linear path that I'm expected to go down. I can change my course any way I choose. And so that's really what got me into finance. Was it will give me an opportunity to understand how things work in a way that I can make choices on my own, when I need to.
And I know that you are the founder of Women and Money.
Yeah,
And it kind of looks like that is a path that you should, like, having the guts to go and say, hey, like, I want this. For a lot of women, that is a difficult choice because you're like, oh, I've given this opportunity. Maybe I should just work for free and not even like ask about money because I'm not supposed to. And
yeah.
that is literally the reason why I started Invest Diva as well, because I'm like, oh, this is so,
There's,
and I used to be one of them too. I didn't have the courage, if you will, to do that. So tell me a little bit about Women and Money and what your vision is.
Yeah, so we kind of, after about 5 years on Wall Street, which was just enlightening on all aspects of just the pace to which these larger organizations and the largest banks in the world actually run. I think that experience was invaluable for how I'm able to then chart how I think the rest of the world, and especially in crypto, should be rolling out. But one of the things when I moved to San Francisco was the nuances around different ways for investments that women especially weren't fully understanding and therefore not taking full advantage of. And so the ideas around like stock shares or 401ks or different investment mechanisms that a lot of our colleagues within a bank, I mean, this was when I was at Silicon Valley Bank actually, were confused around. So we started it in our living room doing, a cheese board and a bottle of wine on Friday nights. And we would go through all of our financial problems with just a group of 6 women from Facebook, Stripe, EA, Games, Silicon Valley Bank, you name it. I mean, great roles, great careers, and just still wanted to get a firm handle on their finances. And so that's really what we started. It was a once a month program. And then when crypto came around, we started offering kind of a let's learn about crypto. And funny enough, 2 of us left Silicon Valley Bank and splintered off. I went into Ripple and kind of went down that path. And she started out with a VC fund. So it's just been amazing that us becoming more aware of our finances has let us kind of take on more risk in our careers because we're more aware of what what we're working with and how we can actually advance ourselves and increase our own personal capital. So it was something more to become less afraid of what's out there and therefore be able to take on more.
I totally appreciate that. And I'm super proud that women now are actually understanding the need of this because, as I said, when I came to the US, I thought, and I am 5 years older than you, so 5 years, like it actually does make a difference. I'm not joking. When I went to Wall Street, and I know it was the same for you too,
5 years
you were
older.
probably like the only woman in the room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still that way. Back 5 years before that, it was still the same way. But you know what's very, very crazy is that when I was in Iran, it actually wasn't this way. And it's so crazy that Americans have this view of Iranian women. Well, we are suppressed by the government now, but I never thought of any of these things. Engineering, which is the field that I studied. I studied electrical engineering. In Iran, every girl just goes and studies electrical engineering. They don't even think about it. Like, okay. Like it does not have a boy girl label on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until when I went to Japan and it was the Western world I had always dreamt of, thinking this is the freedom. Well, there are a lot of freedoms about all these countries that I don't have in Iran, but the label with the boy and girl label, that was new to me. Mm-hmm. And that is when I was like, this does not have to be this way. Like in Iran, women are in charge. Like my mom knows as much as my dad. She knows more than my dad was happening. Oh yeah. She's like, oh, you did that wrong. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? My dad's like, oh, sorry. So it's like, it's the reverse. And so because I had that experience firsthand that women are actually good at it, but it looks like that the society is labeling, and that fear that, oh, maybe I should stay away from finance is just saying, keeping them away. So I totally appreciate the fact.
It starts socially beyond that. And I feel like it's changing in the current kind of, my cousins are like 10 years old or so. And I feel like there's a sense of empowerment that they actually are getting, which I'm excited to continue to welcome. And the women in my family are, leading in businesses. And so that's kind of the model that they get to see now. But when I was growing up, I played golf because that was a way for me to bond with my dad.
I saw that. What? That's so weird too.
I didn't know that there wouldn't be a women's golf team when I went to high school. And so I had to try out for the boys. And in order to try out for the boys, I had to play from the men's tees. And so that was just what I thought was normal. If you wanted to play in a man's game, you had to play from their standpoint and be just as good as they were. And so I think there was a lot of elements of that that taught me that if this is how the world's going to play, then I'm going to play from the men's tees. And so I'm not afraid to go back and play from there. And I think it's kind of even the playing field, even if it's taking back or dividing that in a different way. I just think that there's an equalizer, and if we greet it at that, then we are going to be having to achieve just that far more.
So right now, and I'm gonna get into crypto because, and I totally want to learn about your role in Ripple and XRP, and I totally want to learn about Binance in a second. But do you still, like, when you're in your roles right now in the financial, do you try to see everything from a man's point of view, or are you trying to like bring your feminine aspects to it?
Yeah, well, I definitely think I can't change who I am, and yeah, I've been all parts of who I am. I see things through the eyes of three people really. I see it as my 9-year-old self. I see it as my current age self. I see it as a current age person of mine, like a male peer, and then I see it as my grandmother. And I kind of make sure that anything we do, how does it register? How does it make sense? Are we growing education components that would make my 9-year-old self want to be me one day? Am I growing current aptitude to allow for someone my age, both male and female, or the gender of their choice, to be able to expand their own personal capital and achieve their dreams within the next 10 years? And am I making sure that my grandparents are going to be proud of the world that we are going to be evolving?
Oh my
So
God, this is
when you
such
think
an
about it,
amazing superpower that you have.
yeah, might be my secret. Uh-oh, I've let it
No,
out.
yeah, you revealed it. Now I'm gonna try. I'm like, oh, let me see, because right now I don't even know who I revealed from.
You kind of have to think about those components in order to make sure something.
Actually, wait, do you studied at Copenhagen and Singapore, but in Hong Kong, you said?
Yeah, Chinese
Wait,
university.
so I was reading that Koreans have this ability of like really putting themselves, like it's a must. If you can't put yourself in a different person's shoes, like you don't know anything. I was just reading that article the other day and I'm like, well, I should learn a thing or two about, but did you learn it abroad, or was it something that you already had within you?
No, I think it's, and maybe it's a family value of mine, but you've got to
Maybe
walk.
you're part Korean.
You've got to
Doesn't look like it, but
walk a mile in someone else's shoes before you make a decision about where we're going to go with things. So I think whether it's just me building for something larger than what my own impact or what my own value would be getting out of it. I certainly don't want what we're building at Binance US to be only as valuable as the input or the efforts I put into it. I want this to be, we're here for the long haul. We're in the area or time to actually have an impact on a financial societal change. And I certainly want that to address and welcome as many as possible, because it's freed up, given me so many opportunities. It can do the same for someone else. Until
so
I've met you,
tell
I have.
us tell us about Binance US, because actually, so Binance is the second crypto exchange that I worked with. I started trading with. Well, one of the main reasons why is like I went to Kraken and it wasn't. It was when everybody was trying to trade crypto and they kind of crashed. I'm like, ah, I'm going to Binance.
Sister.
Yeah,
Every single exchange was almost like booked out.
it was crazy.
Summer of 2017, and you'd be on a waiting list, or you'd get told to just check your emails. And I have a short attention span, and I needed to know I could have
You're
access.
a millennial. Are you, or Generation Z? What are
Oh,
you?
no, I'm a millennial.
Millennial. All right.
I'll own it. But it's beyond that, I just naturally have a short attention span. So one that you're going to make me wait and sit on the sidelines while I'm watching activity take place, and people to be able to advance where they were seeing a trend. I mean, the rule we learn in FX is trend is your friend. Well, there was a clear trend in 2017. And so, you
And
want
if you
to
didn't write on it, you will be left out.
be left out, right? And
And that's what happened to a lot of people. And that's why I actually chose Binance at the time. The question I wanted to ask you, all right, so Binance US. So
mhm.
I still have my Binance account. I still have a bunch of stuff on it. What happens to my account with the launch of Binance US? Is it now Binance US? Because I'm looking at it right now. It just says binance.com/EN, which is English.
Yeah.
So
So we've launched separate to anything that's happening on .com. Binance US just became an offering in September 24th, 2019, for US folks. We've got 37 states on board right now to be able to access the same technology that you had on Binance.com, but within a compliant manner for the United States. So understanding that we're building out this platform with a US minded user, focused on the KYC that's required for operating well in the United States, being able to roll out features that are going to be native to the United States regulation, as well as think about the things that burden you versus burden other global citizens. So US taxes, for instance,
Right.
making sure that's a little bit more friendly. Kind of forward thinking and focused really on an American everyday user.
So I'm assuming how tough the regulation challenge is. So how have you been going about it? And you still have 100 cryptos on Binance US as well, right?
We only have about 25 coins listed right now and about 40 trading pairs total. So we have dollar on ramps as well as BTC and USDT. And that's just in the mechanism of, again, kind of how I think about folks is those that do not have crypto yet will want to have a way of putting their own dollars onto an exchange and
Yeah,
access.
because that was a big challenge with Binance because I first had to go to Coinbase, get Bitcoin, move it to Binance, and then start trading. So that was a hassle.
Yeah,
So
that's not a smooth way of life.
it's not, yeah.
So we've enhanced that experience for you.
That's
So
amazing.
now you have a dollar on ramp for 25 coins with the ability to also have trading pairs in BTC, so you can move quickly between Bitcoin and some of your pairs, as well as we've rolled out BUSD, which is a stable coin. So you have the ability to go into a stable coin, if not USDT, BUSD. And then we'll be, continuing to advance our listings so that people have this really diverse selection to choose from. And that's again something that Binance and myself both kind of still align on, and that's giving people the freedom of choice,
So
letting them.
does it still also have Binance Coin, BNB?
It does have BNB, yeah. We have
Okay, cool.
USD, BNB.
And how can I transfer? Like, would you recommend people who already had accounts with the Binance.com? Should we transfer our trades to the Binance US? How does it work? Like, are you guys connected? Because you said it's a standalone product now.
Yeah, so we're an independent company, so it would be the same experience as transferring your funds from any other exchange. We have really easy deposit, pages that let you deposit funds and provides your wallet address that you would copy and send your funds over from any other exchange, or even like your Bitcoin at Cash App or Lolly or Earn.com, and any of those kind of pools where you might be storing crypto. You can deposit those directly onto Binance US, and then begin trading in the experience of Binance US.
And how are the fees different than, let's say, Bitfinnex or Coinbase?
Yeah. So the fees were another burden that I faced, and that was, if my life had been easy, this product would have looked different. But fees were a burden of mine. And so we've lowered the fees on all retail clients to be 10 basis points or 0.1% of your trading notional.
So that sounds great. I'm sorry for interrupting you,
Yeah.
but now my Forex hat is coming out because I actually work at a Forex broker on Wall Street. Oh. And so first of all, so the fees are how you're going to survive. If you're cut down on the fees, what's going to happen? Like, how are you going to make money?
If you're looking at a historical background, that's how people have survived. But if you're looking towards the future and saying that there's different revenue streams, then it's not a worry of mine. I see, trade fee compression being something that we will face inevitably. If we can welcome the future, then we can move on from.
So for example, Robinhood with the stocks, they don't have any fees, and I immediately closed all my accounts with other brokers, and I moved everything to Robinhood because of that. So I can, of course, people will value it, but would you mind sharing what your revenue strategy is for Binance?
I wish I could, but not yet.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, I was getting sneaky right over there.
Yeah. There are a couple of ways that currently you can offer, advanced products for folks that will come with costs, but also benefit in the end of just, holding of the supply or the deposits. So
question for you, I know I have a lot of questions and I'm interrupting you, but because again, coming from a Forex background, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a bold question. So with Forex brokers, one of the main ways they made money was if the retail trader lost money, they would take the other side of their trade and that money would be theirs, right? So
very different model. So the trades on Binance US, it will be a user against another user. There's not a prop shop that you used to have in banks before.
So you won't be market making.
Yeah, we're not going to be taking positions on the other sides of our clients on this front. It is a user-driven exchange, and we are the venue to which a buyer and a seller can meet. So that is really a different experience than you would have at FX, where someone would be encouraging or asked to trade on a different, side of a position, and then the other team would be taking advantage of that. No, there's a couple of elements in FX that are very different than crypto on exchanges. Partially, one, all of FX is OTC, or majority of it is, and then the spreads to which the client and the provider would be having are variable and up to discretionary on trades and liquidity, whereas ours are kind of flat rate. 10 basis points, and if you hold BNB, then you get a 25% discount on those trading fees. So we make it very transparent into understanding what fees we are taking and what fees would be happening there, but you'll be matching with another user, a buyer or a seller.
So what are the differences in terms, so you're focusing mainly on trading short term, whereas Coinbase is more of like store of value, like go and buy your stuff and then put it on a wallet?
Really depends. I mean, we offer buy, say, sell, hold right now, focused on a spot market. That's because we're about 2 months old, and getting licenses to do futures and additional products is down the road. But getting our spot offering up is, an important one to be able to increase the order book depth on all these markets that we're rolling out. That's an important first step for healthy markets. So I think one of the sweet spots of Binance and Binance US has been that we offer more than just a simple way to access the currency, but we also offer kind of that window into seeing the market itself, letting you, post limits or post orders as well.
So the US has been super tough on advertising anything about crypto. So I wrote this book, Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies.
Cool.
Facebook, Google, nobody lets me advertise it. So I'm like, oh, whatever. So we haven't been, so have you been really going after advertising on US based platforms?
Not as much. I mean, I think there's some component to it in terms of, did we just advertise your book right now? being on this show, but
I know. No, it's my own show. People already know about it. So.
or to some element, sure, this is me letting people know what Binance US is doing, but not at the point right now. You won't see a bus with our name on it just yet. So
Right.
we're
So it's
still
basically being word of mouth. And I actually saw that you're also trying to facilitate Twitter a lot with.
yeah. So I prior to crypto, I was a quite active tweeter, but on not related to anything crypto before. So I've been able to kind of reignite that old communicator on social media to be able to be accessible to our users. So my Twitter DMs are open if people have questions on the platform, if they want to know a little bit more about anything. They can ping me. It's just a matter of courtesy that they realize I'm trying to build something for them as well.
Yeah,
So
please don't. I mean, I do have your Twitter handle up on your head right now, but please don't go and like bombard.
but just realize you're keeping me from doing things.
Right. And then I mean, it's a sad reality, but once you have your DMs open, sometimes you get some unwelcome DMs as well, which I'm sure being a woman you've been familiar with.
Well, if
don't do that, you guys who are watching. Don't do it. Not cool.
Wall Street, the men's golf team, and life itself.
You know how to handle yourself.
It's nothing I haven't seen before. So I would think the world can be a little bit better than it has been, but we'll let them try.
Why are you so excited about crypto?
Yeah, for me, it's a huge equalizer. I mean, we sit here, you and I both across here, becoming able to write books about cryptocurrency, able to build whole teams and infrastructure around this industry. And we are at the same playing field as anyone else. The fact that this technology, true cryptography and mathematics have been around for quite some time, but the technology of Bitcoin itself is only 10 years old, puts us at a playing field that says we've all been present and in the same amount of time to learn and be able to engage. So there has been kind of that that equalizer that lets people say, if you're after it and you want to learn more and, execute on this, the sky's the limit for you. It doesn't have to be a bias that we've seen before. And so that's really something that excites me. The great idea is that this technology and our platform and other platforms similar lets you and I live that global life that we had always wanted to, and not feel that pressure of financial burden. We can have our accounts, we can access them on the weekends. I can pay bills from my account on a Saturday, not have to, quit my job early to go to the bank at 4 p.m. before it shuts down. All of those things that you forget and calculate in have actually held us back in terms of what we can achieve. So putting crypto in your pocket, being able to have your funds and your wealth mechanism really in the palm of your hand is a huge change for how I see futures going forward. And that to me would unlock a lot freedom for folks that have felt held behind or burdened or required to learn finance in order to pay for their lifestyle.
Right. No, absolutely. And again, I foresee the government's really pushing back on this because again, going back to my background, Iran is under a lot of sanctions from the US where, well, the government is not great, but the people are taking the hit, but I can still send them Bitcoin or crypto. So I'm wondering how this will pan out, like with the exchanges like yourself, will they be available in countries like Iran? Or, I mean, I know I'm getting into a little bit of a forbidden category, but it is our reality that like my connection with my mom and dad can be cut off if the Iranian government decides to shut down the internet. So, and they did it like 2 weeks ago. Like I didn't talk to my parents for a week.
Yeah.
But so I'm wondering,
Which would
government's playing this role, how would Binance fit into that?
Yeah, the easy answer for that for my side is different than the actual answer I'd provide larger. I'm focused solely on the United States. So you won't see too much mission creep from me right now. I've got more states that I need to be rolling out to and really servicing the United States as best I can. But what I'm able to partner with is a much larger global organization, Binance Global. So they are entering different markets that they do see this need as a fit for. You've got Uganda, Singapore, Jersey, Binance Global, the DEX. They've got a real reach into making sure that areas from all over can be able to access crypto. And so I think that's part of our plan and goal is really being able to serve a larger audience and make sure that the needs that we do need in order to have this make sense are seen fit. So the United States is my sole focus. And I'm really committed to that to make sure that the experience for my users is on par with what the global team will be experiencing.
So before I let you go, I do have this question about United States because the states in the US are so different. Like people in the middle of America, they might not even want to be a part of something new. So how do you handle that? Like do you go like
They do, but I had a great conversation. I think I've brought this up a couple times just because it was so illuminating. Was someone in Missouri was saying it was really hard because of the agricultural businesses there for people to realize that you could create value that didn't come from soil. So you think about farmers and where their wealth and careers have all been spent was in the land, and to have something that's digital is more foreign than
they can't
something
touch it? It's
someone
like
making the step from an ATM to crypto and that already being advanced, or understanding that how an e-commerce business would be valuable. But it was really illuminating that I was like, farmers are having a tough time connecting, and that's a super generalization. So one farmer was having a hard time, understanding that from the land, that's one way to earn value, but you could also earn it from a digital asset. So we really want to cater our understanding message to these diverse communities. As you said, within the United States, it's extremely different, not just country to country to country, which is also very different. North, south, east, west, you name it. There's a personality, there's a culture, there's an understanding around money, around digital money. And we really want to be able to serve each community. So I've got my work cut out for me in terms of being able to address and include everyone in the United States as we see that we can, welcome them into our doors at Binance US, teach them, lower the intimidation levels, lower the barriers to entry, and really welcome this new, opportunity for people to access, manage, and grow their own capital.
That is super awesome. I really, really, really wish you the best of luck with this, because I really want to see, I can see and I can sense and feel the energy that you bring into this. And
we need to nerd out about FX another time, because I had way too
oh
much.
yeah, we didn't even get to Ripple. Like, I'm like, I have so many questions. When am I going to ask them? Like, it's like,
you can call me on a Friday night. We can have a
No, but it has been awesome. And I think your job has been cut out for you, and I really, really am here. I'm going to be your biggest fan, and hopefully in a year from here we'll see like Binance US is all over the place. Everybody's using it, everybody knows about crypto, and this kind of shame and fear and like, oh my god, what is this? This is new. The resistance,
like, go on, take your crown, let's go.
Right. Exactly. Again, thank you, Catherine, so much for joining us on Diva on the Block. Our mission here really is to bring crypto to everyday people who don't know what's happening. And you saw now, Catherine is just this girl from Florida who just got into it, and look where she is today. She's really on her way to change the world. I really, really hope you enjoyed the show. Do tell us what you thought about it. If you have any comments, write it down in the comments. I'm pretty sure, I'm definitely going to answer Catherine. I'm going to tag and like, hey, answer this person if you have any questions.
I'll read them.
Yeah. Like the video, share it with your friends. Let's spread the word. And of course, subscribe to my channel as well. Thanks again, Catherine, for joining us. And I'll see you guys again in the next episode of Diva on the Block. I asked them for a silly face, so we can use it. Do you have a silly face?
I don't know, is that the right one?
That is like the most creative one. Normally people just stick their tongue out. That was super cool. I do have another question. I really wanted to ask this because my daughter is super tall and I'm really, really tiny. Sorry?
How tall and how old is she?
She's 1.5-year-old, but she's half my
girl. Sorry.
No, she's half my size. She wears 3-year-old kids.
So is she like 24 inches?
No, she's like literally up my hip. I'm tiny and she's super, she takes after my husband. So I'm wondering, he's like 6'3".
Okay.
And I'm like 5'3".
Yeah. That's how my parents are. My dad's 6'6", my mom's 5'6".
Oh, okay. So, but my question is, how is life being a tall girl?
It's a late blooming effort, but it pays off in spades. But like your first 30 years are going to be real awkward. Then afterwards, you're like, I am so glad I'm tall.